All right, welcome to today's Explainer. Look, we are jumping right in today because we're unlocking a 100-year-old mystical text that has quietly influenced millions of people. It was written by a woman named Florence Scovel Shinn, and what's absolutely fascinating about her work is that it completely predates the modern law of attraction movement, and it totally predates modern neuroscience. Yet, as you're going to see today, modern behavioral science and psychology are finally validating her incredible rule-based system for creating reality. We're going to decode her 5 most powerful distinctions, and we're turning them into a practical manual for mastering your own consciousness.
So here's the rulebook we're unlocking today. First, the game of life. Second, how words are creative. Third, the power of non-resistance. Fourth, imagining your future. And finally, number 5, why faith means digging ditches. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive right into this first rule. Rule 1, the game of life, reframing the human experience. Now, today's motivation industry is constantly telling us to hustle, right? To grind, to treat life like this brutal battle where brute strength wins. Well, Florence Scovel Shinn argued almost a century ago that this is just fundamentally incorrect. Life actually isn't a battle at all. It's a highly structured game, and it's governed by consistent spiritual laws. You don't need endless force or to muscle your way through it. You literally just need elegant alignment with the rules.
And that brings us to the core drumbeat of this entire system. It's simple. Consciousness comes first, experience follows. It is never the reverse. Actually, if you look across all of Shinn's teachings, people only saw their external circumstances change, whether we're talking about their finances or their relationships, after making an internal realization. The internal correction always has to happen first.
So the absolutely crucial point here is how you handle your own blocks. You know, when you face an obstacle, the normal human reaction is to kind of play the victim, right? We ask, why is this happening to me? Or what am I doing wrong? But I challenge you to replace that with a much more empowering question. Whenever you feel stuck, ask yourself, what law am I failing to understand? The universe isn't holding out on you, you're just unknowingly violating a rule of the game. Once you understand the law, you remove the block.
Moving right along to Rule 2, words are creative forces. Your word is your wand.
What's really interesting about this concept is that most of us think our speech just describes our life. But no, your speech actively participates in creating it. To modernize this text a bit, let's look at it vibrationally. Your thoughts are invisible frequencies, right? Well, your words are the amplified, crystallized vibrations of those thoughts. They're the very first physical representation of your internal world crossing over into our visible reality. So every single time you say, I never have enough time, or I always attract the wrong people, you are using a very real creative force to instruct reality to just keep delivering exactly that. Because of that, I want to issue a direct challenge to you right now. It's the 24-hour complaint challenge. For the next 24 hours, I just want you to notice every single negative statement you make. You'll probably be shocked at how often you unknowingly speak against your own desires. If you can just stop speaking those negative thoughts out loud, you essentially choke off the sunlight to those limiting beliefs, and eventually they just dry up.
Which leads us perfectly into Rule 3, the power of non-resistance. Stop fighting the current.
Now this is where the game gets deeply psychological. When we encounter something we don't want, our immediate instinct is to fight it. But counterintuitively, emotional resistance actually binds your consciousness to the exact unwanted condition you're trying to escape. Instead, try applying the golden equation for reality. Desire plus non-resistance equals your desired result. Think about it. Fear keeps fear alive. Resentment keeps the past alive. The energy you invest in fighting a problem becomes the exact energy sustaining it. So letting go, it isn't giving up. It's deliberately withdrawing your creative energy from the problem so a higher solution can finally emerge.
Okay, Rule 4, imagining your future. The unseen precedes the seen.
In this game, the inner vision absolutely must be held first, 100% of the time. And what's just incredible is how ahead of her time Shinn actually was. Back in the 1920s, she talked about mental occupation and living in anticipation. Well, today, modern neuroscience proves that when professional athletes vividly imagine playing their sport, their actual physical muscle fibers fire. No way, right? But it's true. When pianists imagine playing a song, their brains light up exactly as if they were physically touching the keys. Shinn's century-old mystical terminology perfectly described how vividly imagining a future state physically alters our neural and muscular pathways.
To kind of groundless abstract concept, Shinn tells this remarkable story of a woman who wanted her estranged husband to return.
But instead of just sitting around wishing, she lived in profound anticipation. Every single night, she set her dining room table for two. She mentally occupied the state of the wish fulfilled, and after 2 months of this unwavering loyal routine, he suddenly reappeared. The takeaway? She didn't wait for him to arrive to set the table. She set the table to actively make room for his arrival.
Let's move to and see how this builds into Rule 5, our final rule. Faith means digging ditches. Action as acceptance.
We really need to completely redefine the word faith here. We're turning it from a passive hope into an undeniable physical action. In this context, faith is not about a religious deity, it simply means belief, period. It's unconditional acceptance in the certainty of an outcome. But here is the trap. If you constantly worry about scarcity, you are actively having faith in scarcity. So if you want to change your life, you have to deliberately choose to place your unconditional faith in the certainty of abundance instead.
Shinn illustrates this with a really bizarre ancient story. So, 3 kings march their armies into a scorchingly hot desert only to run entirely out of water. Men and livestock are literally dying. They seek out a prophet who gives them this exhausting instruction. He says, grab your shovels and dig deep ditches in the dry desert dust. He tells them they won't see wind and they won't see clouds, but the valley will fill with water. And despite being severely dehydrated, they dig. The next morning, a supernatural flash flood rushes in, fills the ditches, and saves their lives. The lesson is that spiritual law requires you to do the exhausting work of preparing for your goal before you see a single drop of rain.
So, what does digging a ditch actually look like in everyday life? Well, it's highly practical. It's buying a new work bag or reorganizing your home office for a job you haven't even been offered yet. It's applying for a passport even though your bank account currently says 0. It's buying a decorative keychain for a house you don't even own yet. These rapid-fire physical actions signal to your subconscious mind that the goal is already a done deal. You're literally preparing the space.
There's this powerful quote that summarizes the core lesson perfectly. The average person wants to see the wind and the rain before he digs his ditches. Most people wait for the economy to look favorable, or for the timing to be absolutely perfect, or for external physical proof before they actually commit and take action. But according to the rules of reality, that is exactly backwards. You have to dig your ditches first, and then you expect the water.
Which leaves us with this final provocative thought for our explainer today. Are you still fighting a battle, just exhausting yourself with blind hustle, or are you ready to learn the rules of the game? Listen, the game is constantly being played and the laws are always operating. So master your consciousness using these 5 rules, dig your ditches, and watch how quickly reality begins to reflect your brand new state of mind.